Hi, I'm Dan McNeil. Today with you for a recap of the Bears' 19-13 loss to the Texans on Sunday Night Football. Team Eberflus returns home 1-1. We'll have that for you right after a reminder about Bet Rivers and everything it has going on over the weekends. Players can play same-game parlays on college football and NFL games to earn Bet Rivers squares. Exclusive squares same-game parlay offers additional chances at profit boosts, squares bonus bets, and many $10,000 jackpots. Visit betrivers.com and check out all the information on how you can prosper on college football Saturday and during NFL action.
You're now watching the Danny Mac Podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
I'm not going to tell you I thought the Bears were going to beat the Houston Texans. I expected Houston to win the football game. I thought they would do it more convincingly on the scoreboard. That doesn't mean I'm any less disappointed in the effort from Team Eberflus Sunday night in Houston. It was an awful performance by the offensive line. There were so many things the Bears didn't do that I thought they would do in this second time around after they shake it out against Tennessee in the opener last week. They were clueless. And Darnell Wright, who had very few penalty issues last year when he played every snap of the season in his rookie season out of Tennessee, had consecutive false start penalties tonight. The Bears had a bunch of those. They were not good. Houston had made even more mistakes. The Texans kept the Bears in this thing, but the Bears couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't protect young Caleb Williams. He's lucky he got out of there in one piece. He was wearing Danielle Hunter's buttocks for a hat in the second half. It was just bad. Sacked 7 times on the night. And it's amazing he didn't have worse numbers than he did. He's still looking for that first touchdown pass. I'm sure you're aware of it. The Bears got their only offensive touchdown of the night and of the season now in 2 games, late in the second quarter on a 2-yard touchdown run from Khalil Herbert. It wasn't pretty. There was nothing the Bears did offensively that was sustainable at any point. They never put together consecutive first downs to make you feel like something was going on. Every time they'd give the ball to DeAndre Swift, he was met by defenders. At one point, he had 6 carries or 9 carries for 5 yards. That was what it was, 9 carries for 5 yards. He finishes with lousy numbers on the night, and the Bears, until very late in the fourth quarter, had fewer total yards than they wound up having in week 1, which was terribly disappointing when they pulled that horseshoe out of their backside and beat the Titans last week because Will Levis was as generous as he was. And it wasn't like the Texans didn't give Chicago opportunities and the Bears earned some of them. Let me give some credit to Bears defenders who showed up tonight. And it was a collective effort from the pass rush. And even though the Bears pass rush not nearly as good as Houston's was, you got some consistent pressure. And Jack Sanborn had a big sack in the second half. They forced C.J. Stroud into making more challenging throws in the second half. He kind of had his way with what he wanted to do. The first half, he really had Nico Collins going on the short slant well. That was a very effective play for the Texans early on. And Collins had a big game, and he did it against anybody who was defending him. Tyreek Stevenson, the second-year corner out of Miami, had a tough night. He had a tough night as a tackler. He had a tough night in coverage. Jalen Johnson was not spectacular in coverage and got faced after the Collins touchdown, too, kind of thrown to the ground in disgust. But I have very little quarrel with the Bears defense. This is an offensive team that's just got nothing going for it right now. And I was comfortable coming into the season with the coaching staff. I thought Shane Waldron, based on everything I picked up in the offseason, was the right guy to handle a young quarterback. I liked learning what I was told from Hall of Famer Warren Moon on what Waldron did in Seattle 3 years ago, with Geno Smith now 3 seasons ago when Smith won the Comeback Player of the Year award after the 22 season is that he just tailor-made the offense for what he did well. He didn't try to fit him into any particular thing based on what he likes to run. He utilized Geno's strengths. I don't know if the Bears are going to be stable enough with that front five, the 5 blocks of silly putty, to be that selective, to be that judicious. Swift is getting crushed anytime he gets the ball in his hands. Whether they throw him the ball or he's trying to run with the football, there's nothing out there. There's nothing going on with the Bears running game. And all of the big names you were expecting to be making contributions, really, and Swift made a nice one-handed catch to bail out Williams. Wasn't a terrible throw, but it certainly wasn't his best. To get the chains moved in the second half, that was in the third quarter. But you're expecting a lot more out of Cole Kmet, and he did wind up catching 4 balls on the night, and man, did he get planted too. He got stuck bad in the second. That Houston defense was physical. They were bringing it, and Williams is lucky to get out of Houston in one piece. He was rocked. And 7 sacks, it's not the Jay Cutler Sunday night game in MetLife Stadium years ago against the Giants, but it wasn't too dissimilar, especially in the second half. Whether it was Will Anderson Jr., last year's Defensive Rookie of the Year, or the former Viking Daniil Hunter, he was under duress. He didn't have a chance. He threw some bad balls. He threw some balls that were just thrown up for grabs. How was it a factor of fatigue? I don't know. You can't win when you don't have any semblance whatsoever of identity. And he has to be doubting, what in the hell can I do? I just got to throw up and hope someone makes a play in the second half. And he's not going to, I don't expect it any time during this week leading up to the Indianapolis game that he'll point fingers. That's not what he does. He will point the thumb. But if he's going to, if he's going to tell you what we already know, is that nobody's going to win with that offensive line as bad as they are. That's horrible. I didn't think they were going to be good. I didn't think they'd be this unstable. They're terrible. I mean, Ryan Poles, please figure this out. I don't know what you're going to do right now, but if you really believe this team is close and you can advance in January, you better find somebody to augment that offensive line. And as much as the most critical need is center, the 2 guards, Jenkins was okay tonight. Davis wasn't great. Davis is never great. You expect Davis to have issues. He's a short-termer, but I don't know, maybe when Bates is fully healthy, Bates plays a guard or Shelton plays a guard. You got to do something. You can't continue to go with this outfit. And I thought Wright was even worse than the third-year tackle Braxton Jones. Wright, the right tackle, number 58, terrific year last year. Tough night in the office. Really tough night against good pass rushers. That Houston team is fun to watch. You know what's funny? That they didn't throw out Aziz Al-Ashir. I think I'm pronouncing Al-Ashir. The linebacker who wears number 0, who got up off the pile after cracking Caleb Williams what the Bears felt was out of bounds. And he got up swinging and threw a wild right hand that landed. He punched Roshan Johnson, the running back, the second-year running back out of Texas, right in the face. And he didn't get thrown out for it. Now, that's something that you're supposed to be ejected for. I don't know why he didn't get called for that. It clearly was a punch. But my point is not about Al-Azir, or whatever his name is, number 0 for a linebacker. I hate this. I hate not knowing if a guy is a linebacker or a safety, because the size differential is not that much anymore. The point is Caleb Williams is going to get killed if he doesn't start protecting himself a little bit better. On that long run he had on the last drive, he got his feet down, and Mike Tirico happy to mention the slip and slide featured on HBO's Hard Knocks. Look, There are so many guys I've been seeing do this these last 2 weeks. Malik Willis almost got killed 3 or 4 times in the Green Bay victory today at Lambeau Field. Packers giving it to favored Indianapolis, and we saw Levis sacrifice his body last week. Caleb Williams is taking too many shots as well. Get down. Get down. You're a bad dog baby. I don't want you around. No, get down. It was at a Gilbert O'Sullivan song, I think. Oh, man, Kangaroo Court gets a fine. But, I don't think that was on the defender. My point was going to be, when you're that close to the boundary, don't let up. He stopped running. You're going to get smashed when you stop running. And I'm sure it's something they're going to look at when they watch the tape with him. The tape. There's no tape, but they still call it tape. When they watch the game, they're going to say, look, man, you can't just be so casual on the sideline. You got to get down or get out of bounds. Make a decision and go with it. Derek Stingley Jr. had a pick. It was not a good night for Williams. It was not a good night for the Bears offense. There's nothing I can say that's good about it. Rome Odunze has been a non-factor in 2 games. Again, going back to Kmet, who we spent a lot of time last week. A lot of Bears fans spent a lot of time talking about how little he played against the Titans. Gerald Everett, the ageless tight end, got more snaps. And Kmet played more tonight, but again, still not figuring as much in the offense. And it's not like the Bears don't have time of possession. They did. It was pretty much a wash right down the middle in time of possession. Yeah, 31 minutes for the Bears to 28-47, 39 and change and 28. So they're almost a split in TOP. So it's, oh God, what a rough night. Third down offense wasn't as bad as, on paper as it sure felt like when you were watching it. The Bears on third down in the loss were 6 out of 17. That's about 36%. Yes, man, oh man, that offensive line, they're not going to win many games if they don't get that figured out. And I have this team as an 11-win football team this year. Tyreek Stevenson on the defense needs to tackle better. Montez Sweat needs to start making more of a difference. He wasn't lined up on Laramie Tunsil all night. And guess what? Laramie Tunsil gets beat too. Some of the best players in the game get beat. You got to start getting there. Montez Sweat didn't have a tackle. I supported the trade. I thought it made sense. He had 6 sacks last year in 8 games with the Bears. Led 2 teams in sacks. Nobody in NFL history's ever done that. Nobody really wants to, because it's a sign of 2 things. You didn't stick with the team that had you originally, likely because they were having a fire sale. That was the case with the Commanders last year. And then you go to a team that has no help the second half of the season, and you wind up with 6.5 sacks on one and 6 on the other, and that's best on both teams. That's terrible. That's just horrible. That's a dubious distinction. And it's one you take. He got a $98 million contract out of the Bears. About time to start earning it. About time to start harassing some quarterbacks. And I always will be on this for the highest paid pass rushers, because that's why they make the big money. That's why the expectation from me on Khalil Mack was higher than others had. And after that second year, his production waned enormously in his 4 years with the Bears. It's why Julius Peppers, who I recognized at the time was asked to play in coverage more than just your average, edge rusher. But there were times when he didn't have coverage responsibilities and he didn't get there. And I wrote him for it, because that's why you pay guys. In the case of Peppers, the Bears at the time when they signed him in 2010, record money. Well, this is pretty good money for Sweat. Now go start earning it. CJ Stroud has not thrown an interception since week 11 of last season. Thought that Gordon had one, but we saw in the replay he lost control of the football twice on the same would-be pick. and he got Eberflus to go ahead and challenge because of his gesticulating. Matt Eberflus has got to learn. Don't succumb to an emotional player who thinks he made a great play. Defer to your coaches. He wasted the challenge. He didn't have one later. I don't know, remember anything where he might have needed it, but don't do that. You're out of challenges at that point. If your coaches upstairs say, no, it hit the ground, we're pretty sure it hit the ground, Matt, or do they call him Flus too? Coach Hairdo? So tired of hearing about that. The Bears are a 1-1 football team, and that's pretty much where I thought they'd be. I didn't think they would be this ugly offensively, but they are. They got a long way to go. The bar is high, and there's no reason to lower it because of a slow start. You got some breaks going for you. You got a Packers team without Jordan Love for a little while. You got a Vikings team without Justin Jefferson probably for a little while. And you got a favor in the division today when Tampa went to Detroit and gave it to the Lions, who were favored by 7.5. So the sky is not falling on the Bears, but damn, get that offensive line figured out now. And the big name guys, the guys who are earning the most money, have to start playing like they deserve the most money. All of them. Sweat hasn't had a chance, so I can't dog Sweat. And DJ Moore has played well most of the time. He got the big extension, the franchise record extension of $110 million in August. Jalen Johnson, he was okay, but he was involved in that even though it didn't cost the Bears, they got a turnover late in the game on the fumble near their goal line. The play Dalton Schultz made to get the ball inside the Bears 5, that was on Jalen Johnson. That's a tight end. Jalen, the game's not over yet. I know it doesn't look great, but the game ain't over yet. Keep playing, man. Sweat, you guys got to get people on the ground. Get him on the ground. TJ Edwards plays his ass off, though, doesn't he? So does Tremaine Edmonds. And I'm big on the secondary. I think they still have a great secondary, and I think in this league, and you saw it tonight, you saw it against a great passer like C.J. Stroud, who had a good game, but not a great game. That'll take you a long way. They got really good in the second half. They took away that slant in the second half that he burned them on so consistently early in the ball game. So the Bears get Indianapolis, and I look forward to previewing the game a couple of times with you during the course of this week, hoping to have Chuck Pagano on the podcast. That's Randy Merkin's aim for the week. Merk takes care of all of the guests we get on the show. Sam Michael is the executive producer of the Danny Mac podcast, and Adam Delavitt is Baby Capone, assisted ably and quite joyfully by Troy Mocker and Alex Pastor. Have a great start to your work week. The Bears are going to be fine. They'll be flying around in no time. I'm Dan McNeil. Thanks for listening, and thank you for watching.